Coming up on BYU basketball with Mark Pope, the Cougars pulled out the brooms by the bay, sweeping St. Mary's and San Francisco to pump up their postseason portfolio. Now it's finally back home for Portland and Pepperdine. Get fired up because the show starts now.
This is BYU basketball with Mark Pope, presented by Siegfried and Jensen. And now your host, the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Good evening once again, Cougar Nation. We welcome you back inside Studio C in the BYU Broadcasting Building here in Provo for another edition of BYU Basketball with Mark Pope, hashtag Pope Show on Twitter. Excited to have you with us for the next hour as we take you inside the Cougar Hoops program. Coming up on tonight's show, we'll recap a winning week and a road sweep for the Cougars. We'll go inside the film room with Big Richard Harward. We'll preview the WCC weekend ahead with home games against Portland and Pepperdine. Tonight's Cougar Q&A subject is guard Jesse Wade, while our Deep Blue features freshman Caleb Lohner. And our live guest is assistant coach Cody Fueger. Great to be home for a couple of games, but let's get this show on the road by saying hello to BYU head coach Mark Pope. Hello, BYU head coach Mark Pope.
Hey.
So we've gotten used to this part of the show being a little something. We never know what it's going to be, but you usually have an idea around now.
So listen, I'm so happy, okay? Because last time, if you remember, we started the show and we were coming off a bad loss at Gonzaga. And so we talked about how much we hated doing the show after a loss. But we are coming onto this show after back-to-back road wins.
2 big wins.
First time in 7 years at St. Mary's and a huge win in San Francisco. And you know, one of the people I look up to most in all of television is the great Oprah Winfrey. So we're going straight Oprah Winfrey today. Every single member of the guest audience gets a free car!
I can't believe this is happening.
A new car for you!
I can't believe this is happening.
And for you, a new car for you, our good friends at Kit. There's nobody here.
No fans in the audience this year. But when they come back, I'll tell you, now they'll be lining up. Now they'll be lining up when the fans come back.
If we could pull that off next year when we have a live studio audience again, everyone gets a car! Yeah. Wow.
I'm glad it's you.
We would definitely win an Emmy. Jerem, could we win an Emmy if we pulled that off?
Yes. By the way, that wasn't an Oprah moment just now.
It wasn't?
That was a Popra moment. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. All right. Yes, it was 2 big wins on the road. Let's take a look at the highlights and stats presented by Intermountain Healthcare on that Bay Area sweep. We started off in St. Mary's Cougs in Moraga. And this game had a lot of personality to it, a lot of flow both ways.
Just every time you go down there, there's so much physicality. And, St. Mary's, we've talked about this a lot, you and I have, about how they're such a tough matchup for us because our styles of play go so head-to-head. They're exactly diametrically opposite. And, you had so many matchups. You have Matt Harms against Toss, right? 2 behemoths in the middle. And then Rich Harward kind of coming to clean everything up. And, St. Mary's is such a proud place with such an unbelievable coach. And it was just awesome. It was a magical night. And it was beautiful how it happened because it wasn't easy. There was never a moment that was easy.
You were down 4 at halftime. Yep. You're down 4 rallying here. This would ultimately get to an 8-point deficit in the second half before you'd rally for a final time. But you hung around. They never got up 10, 12, 14 points on you.
And that's what they do. They just beat you down. Like, that's what they do, especially at home. They're so physical. Even their guards are so incredibly physical. And our guys kind of withstood all the frustration. It's something we talk about all the time is great teams are able to take all the frustration of the game and immediately turn it to fight. And our guys just kept doing it. And we had huge plays like that from Gideon George and Trevin Nell down the lane. Both of them made big plays in the last 7 or 8 minutes that really carried us.
And it's a massive play. Gideon, by the way, was as big on the defensive end as he was the offensive.
Yeah, he changed the whole tenor of the game for us, and that was actually what changed was, we were able to flatline St. Mary's for a long run. And the biggest change that we made with our ball screen defensive coverage was just having Gideon guard their point guard, QZ, and his length really gave him a problem. And it was one of many things that our guys did that were really effective down the stretch.
Ends up being a 10-point win. We saw a couple of makes from Averett, why we call him Big Shot Brandon now. He seems to have a sense of the moment when games need him.
Yeah, he had 2 huge buckets down the stretch. The one that got blocked and then recovered, and then one kind of to really close out the game, a little baseline runner. You know, we've taken great teams down to this gym. Like, we've taken top 20 teams down to this gym at St. Mary's and not been able to come away with a win. And so for this group to do it, it's just a great moment for us and something we're really proud of. And it continues to grow that rivalry. You know, last year we talked about this. We played 2 overtime games and a 1-point game with St. Mary's last year in about as tightly matched a 3-game series you can have. And for us to get game number 4 down there is pretty awesome.
Yeah, literally last year it was a 1-point game, a 2-point game, and a 3-point game in the ways you just talked about. And St. Mary's, I mean, it's not like they still played you well. I mean, they held you to 6 assists. Yep. You had 1-3, they'll take away the 3. Yep. So they make it hard for you.
Yeah, you think about a BYU team that has 6 assists and is 1 for 10 from the 3-point line on the road at Moraga. We're 1 and 8 coming into the game, and you don't think those stats bode well, but they don't. At least this past weekend, they haven't figured out how to put like a toughness stat category in the box score, but we won that, and we won it clearly, and it was awesome.
So after the win in Moraga, it was across the Bay Bridge that night. You guys went to San Francisco. Cougs and Dons on the Hilltop on Saturday. Let's get right now to War Memorial Gymnasium, BYU and USF. And the first thing we see is another Gideon George play.
Yeah, Gideon had back-to-back transition plays. First was an incredible block, which I don't know will be on the highlights, and then there it is.
Yep.
And then right after it was that great charge that he took. He was a huge factor in this game, especially in his minutes in the second half. It was an interesting game, so we start out well. We're up 7-2, and both these games at St. Mary's and at San Francisco, we didn't get to a media timeout till like 12 minutes left in the half. And so in this game, I made a coaching error. I was so determined to prove that my guys were tougher and in better shape that we just let them get going. I should have called a timeout at like the 15-minute mark, and we didn't. And we paid for it with a terrific early run by San Francisco, got us down before that first media timeout finally came.
Second half, similar to the St. Mary's game, BYU ended up going down 8. Spencer Johnson's 1-3 of the game was pretty big at the moment. And this is, you mentioned toughness in the St. Mary's game. A similar tenacity was on display as you guys rallied to go in front here in the second half at USF.
Yeah, if you just watch our offensive clips from about 8 minutes down to 2, it's just a clinic in kind of attacking teams through the post.
Big make to go up 5.
Yep, and really big time offensive rebound by Rich. He had actually made an unbelievable pass in transition to get Alex that 3, and then comes up with the rebound putback. And again, just such a man down there. He was a force to be reckoned with in the lane all game long, and had his imprint all over the game, finishing with a double-double.
When the game was already won, a couple of shots made late, but the hay was in the barn by that point. BYU ends up winning it by 9 after a 10-point win at St. Mary's. And so the Hilltop is a place where USF had gotten BYU in back-to-back games, and a very good team went there last year and didn't get the win.
Yeah, and the San Francisco team's really good. They're really well coached. Todd Golden is one of the top young coaches in the entire country. They already had a huge win on a neutral court against Virginia this year. They spread the floor and play 5 guys out on the perimeter, which is really, really difficult to guard. And they're very efficient. They have some length in the backcourt. I mean, you think about it, at times their 1, 2, and 3 can be 6'5", 6'7", 6'9", right at the 1, 2, and 3 spot. And so they have some length that they can throw at you, and they're a good team. They're going to continue to have a terrific season.
And their post is launching deep threes.
Yeah, their 4s and 5s, their 5 is shooting, in the low 30s, but still shooting. And fortunately for us, he was 0 for 6 on the night, and that was a big factor in the game. It never made us actually change our ball screen coverage, which we anticipated we might have to do at some point. And our guys, like I said, until the last 2 minutes, did a pretty good job guarding the 3.
In both games, BYU made great closing runs to seal the deal. Let's go inside the numbers now, presented by Mountain America Credit Union. Let's do this first. No, I think we can do this first. Let's go inside the numbers and see how BYU got these ones done. Both games saw BYU go on 22-4 runs down the stretch. At St. Mary's, the 22-4 run closed the game, And at San Francisco, it's actually part of a larger 24-4 run, but down one, yes, indeed, you go on 22-4 spurt, and some points get exchanged in the final minute, but that's where the game was won. So in both instances, it's that stretch in those final 8-10 minutes where you guys just pulled away.
You know, we've been really excited about having this team with depth. Last year, on the great team we had last year, we had 3 of the top skill players in the history of BYU athletics statistically, and then we had some great guys around them that just brought their heart and soul and a high skill level to the game. But we did not have depth last year, and this year it feels like we can keep coming at teams wave after wave after wave, and I think it takes a toll if we do it right. And so, well, you know, I'm still learning how to do it right. Our team's still learning how to do it right, but that should be, you know, not every team in the country actually has 10 or 11 guys that can function on a high level on the court. It comes with all kinds of inherent challenges, but if you can figure out how to do it right and keep growing towards doing it right, it makes you a force to be reckoned with, and we got to see that in both of these games.
So 2 deep is a football term, but you have basically 2 5-man units right now. And it's not always a straight 5-for-5, but you've got 2 groups that each bring unique skill sets, and again, everyone's contributing right now.
And also bordering on the complicated part of that is those 2 5-man units are incredibly different, right? And so it's not like you're bringing in a backup 3 that plays like the starting 3. They're very different pieces, which in the long run, if we could do this right, is going to be an incredible strength. We saw that in St. Mary's. We could take a Gideon George and actually make him our defensive point guard, right? And so you have all these pieces at your disposal. As we learn to play with each other and trust each other more and kind of stay focused on doing this together as a team, it's really, really exciting about what we could become, even though there's some frustration along the way.
Okay, 2 wins put you up in the league standings. Let's take a look at what the WCC stacks up for BYU after that weekend sweep. BYU in technically 3rd place right now, as Pacific's played very few games but hasn't lost a game yet. The Zags up top. And I think it's been 15 years, Coach, since St. Mary's opened a league campaign 0-3. And those are 3 home losses for the Gales. Conversely, you played 3 tough games, all of them on the road.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, both us and St. Mary's, could we have had a harder schedule? I mean, they have Santa Clara, who's a terrific team, and then us, and then Gonzaga. And we have Gonzaga on the road and San Francisco on the road and St. Mary's on the road. So we both started out with really challenging schedules. I will point out that last year we were in last place on the standings, and we didn't take the time to point that out. It's significantly more fun to point out the fact that we're in the top 3 right now.
And it's also nice to know that after 3 home games in literally 7.5 weeks, you get to play 3 home games like a week and a half.
Yeah, we're really excited. We're really excited about being back in the gym and excited to remember what it's like to be in the Marriott Center.
And let's take a look at the resume right now for BYU. NCAA tournament resume. And yeah, in fact, every bracket that came out since the weekend has BYU in the dance. And then today, we got to find out the dates. And so it became more real today, right? They gave us a date for the first 4. They gave us the first weekend, second weekend. They plotted it all out. And so when we see resume and we hear about dates, we get thinking about what really matters when you get to March. And Coach, you're in a good spot.
Yeah, like I said, we've talked about it all along. What these guys have done so far is actually, it's kind of left me really a little bit astounded and a lot excited about what we have a chance to become. We clearly have the bulk of the challenge of the season ahead of us, but what we've done so far has been terrific.
Resident bracketologist at ESPN, Joe Lunardi, says he's very high on BYU. Has them seated 11 today, but that's quite the bump up from just a couple of weeks ago. And so I think the Cougars are in a very good spot. And after not having the reward of last year, that's the ultimate hope, right? Is that this team plays well enough down the stretch to get what last year's team wasn't able to enjoy. Means a lot.
Yeah, clearly it's almost so ridiculous to be talking about NCAA tournament seeding right now, although it's fun and I clearly pay attention. We have such a long road to go, but the early returns are good and hopefully we'll continue growing.
All right, a big part of BYU's success this season is the bench brigade, and Richard Harward plays a huge role among the reserves, and tonight he joins Jerem Jordan to take us inside the film room.
All right, Rich, let's focus on the San Francisco game. You just really took over in this one. Let's talk about a couple of plays. First, when you drew a charge on Jamari Bouye, 2-point game, 7 minutes to go. This is a big play.
Oh, yeah. So I've talked with a lot of people about this. Like, I don't go for a lot of blocks just because, frankly, I think it's kind of stupid to go for a block. So right here, coach just told us during the scout that this guy loves to drive. So I just try to get in front of him, and then you just set your feet and fall. And refs feel so smart when they call a charge. So you kind of got for real, you got to kind of play into their psyche and just hey, they want to call this, so you just hop into it.
That's funny, and I completely agree. That's hilarious. Okay, next up, great vision from you after kind of getting stuck in the lane. Alex Barcella with a massive 3.
This one was another one. So the rest were kind of letting us get away with a little bit more physicality inside the post. So with this play, the coach has been telling us, especially after the St. Mary's game, just kind of look for the open man outside. Alex did an amazing job finding the space, finding the gap between the two defenders. So it was just an easy kick out for a wide open 3.
And then you really got going with an offensive rebound and dunk sequence for 2 minutes where you had a couple of these. But let's walk through both of those. The first one, you were very fired up and the bench got into it too.
Yeah, so this one was just one of those lucky plays. The ball just bounced kind of right to me, and it was just at the point of the game where we were kind of finally pulling away. So I felt there's nothing better than when you get a rebound and you kind of jump and then you realize no one's around you. So it's just hey, I can just throw this in.
And then you were really fired up when you came to the bench. You're known as the energy guy. We talked about that last season when you redshirted. You were a guy that helped with the energy on the bench. But it felt like the bench was helping you with energy as well. It was mutual.
Oh, yeah, for real. That's what I love about this team. Just we have the best locker room in America. So it's if one guy's going off, everyone's hyping it up. You never feel like some guy's kind of jealous of you because you got that play or you're in the game. They're just genuinely hyped for you and just saying hey, we're going, we're winning this game. So that was another one, looking over and seeing the bench all hyped. It just keeps you going, gets them going. It's just a great kind of circular thing.
Find you a friend that you can just randomly yell with, right?
So true.
Okay, and then with 3:35 to go, up 9, board and throw down in one motion off the rim.
Yeah, so this one probably fell on my part. This kid's a little skinny guy. Nothing against him, it's just I'm a lot thicker, so I tried to do a spin move. I caught him, and he fell to the ground, and I was just wide open for that putback.
Well, some games are like Utah and San Francisco, right? It's your time. Other games are other guys' time. Congratulations on the success, and best of luck this week with Portland and Pepperdine.
I appreciate it.
I was driving away from the gym on Saturday night with Mark Durant, and I turned to Mark in the car. I said, where would BYU be without Richard Harward right now?
Man, well, and you see his impact on the court, and what you don't get to see his impact before the game, and his impact every day in practice, and his impact in the locker room, and his impact at his apartment where he's living with several guys. And he has such an impact in so many different ways on this team, as a lot of our guys do. And you're right, you take him out of the equation, and it's a much different season so far and a much different looking team.
You know, among the many things Ken Palm tracks individually is offensive rebound percentage. He's top 25 nationally right now.
Yeah, it's incredible. And you think about all that Rich Harward brings to this game and bring to this team, and he's doing it off the bench. And he doesn't care, right? In fact, he's found a place where I think he thinks, hey, I can actually find a way to have even more of an impact on the game off the bench. And when you have guys that are giving their heart and soul to a team and then showing that type of leadership, it gives you a chance to be really, really special.
Coming off the bench, and AB passed him up on Saturday by taking 10 free throws, but going into Saturday, he was leading your team in free throw attempts and offensive rebounds coming off the bench.
Well, and he's also leading the team in charges, and charges taken. And he's probably, I don't know if we could compile a list of the top 10 5-men in the country taking charges, but he's got to be, if he's not number one, he's close. He's got such a presence in so many different areas of the court, it really helps us.
Absolutely. All right, let's head to break or get close to it and tell you that for your day-to-day Cougar Sports play-by-play, watch BYU Sports Nation with Spencer Linton and Jerem Jordan, weekdays noon Eastern on BYUtv and BYU Radio. Pro Football Focus's Anthony Tresh will talk about the 3 Cougs in the top 50 among all college football players this past season. That's on tomorrow's show. Before we go to break, we want to pass along some sad news that some of you may have already heard. Former BYU basketball coach Tony Ingle passed away Monday evening after a battle with COVID-19. Coach Ingle joined Roger Reed's staff in 1989. He was the interim head coach for the majority of the 1996-97 season. He then went on to win 2 national titles, first in 2004 at the Division II level at Kennesaw State, then later the NAIA national crown in 2013 at Dalton State. Both those teams, by the way, Kennesaw and Dalton, in his home state of Georgia. And, the phrase universally beloved applies to Tony Ingle.
Yeah, and just on a personal level, this coaching fraternity at BYU basketball it's actually a very small group, and so I think that all of the coaches that have been in that group and are currently in that group are supportive of each other and take care of each other, and Tony's certainly a great friend to us, and we'll miss him, and certainly our condolences and prayers go with his family.
So Tony passing, and Coach Dave Rose dealing with his own health challenges right now. So there's a lot of feelings close to the surface right now in that fraternity.
Yeah, it's and it is. It's it's family, and it is. It's like this whole big BYU basketball family and this little collective group, and so it's a sad day for all of us.
All right, we'll be back in a moment.
BYU Basketball with Mark Pope is brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen, helping Utah families for over 30 years. Intermountain Healthcare, always here for you. Mountain America Credit Union, guiding you forward. Smith's, fresh for everyone. And by Deseret News.
Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Mark Pope, presented by Siegfried and Jensen. Here's our broadcast schedule for the week ahead. All the games, of course, on BYU Radio. We have pregame coverage for you 1 hour before tip, before every game. Thursday, Cougars finally back home, Marriott Center, 9 Eastern time, taking on the Portland Pilots. That game will be on CBS Sports Network for the TV. Then the first of 2 in a row with Pepperdine. Saturday in Provo, ESPN2 or ESPNU, 10 Eastern. Then next Wednesday back in California. That'll be a 3 Eastern, noon Pacific time game on ESPN2. And again, BYU Radio for all. And of note, our coaches show next week, because they're playing on that Wednesday, traveling Tuesday. We'll do next week's coaches show Thursday. So Thursday at 8:30 Eastern on the BYUtv app. Let's take a closer look at the weekend ahead as we get to know the foe, presented by Qualtrics. The Portland preview, Cougars and Pilots this Thursday night. Portland's off to an 0-4 start in league. Coach, they've lost 5 in a row overall.
Yeah, they're actually a talented team. They really put 5 guys on the floor, a little bit like San Francisco, that all shoot the 3 really well. Their 5-man might be their most talented three-point shooter. Run a ton of pick and pops for him. They push it really hard in transition. And they're one of the top free throw shooting teams.
How about that? They're number 1 in the country in percentage of points scored at the free throw line.
Yep. So they're really, really effective that way, and they're going to be a real challenge. Their record is not great right now, but they've already beaten Oregon State this year
on the road.
And so they're a very capable team, especially when they get hot. Now, I'm going to tell you one of the exciting side bits of this, if you will indulge me, is that this will be our first regular season conference game at home. And so we get to start our Dunk on Cancer program again, which you may or may not know this, but Dunk on Cancer is one of the ways that we raise funds for the Simmons Center of Cancer Research here at BYU, which funds grants for undergraduate and now graduate students to go do cancer research here and abroad. And it's very personal to me because Leanne is taking a leading role in working on this. And so last year, the Dunk on Cancer kind of initiative raised over $400,000 to fund our students' research of cancer. And so that'll start again, even though there's going to be very few people in the stands. The program starts again, so we're excited about getting that kicked off too, and hopefully we can do it while earning a win over Portland.
Yeah, a great note to note. And the number of home games you've played or not played is kind of a storyline too. You've done a lot of heavy lifting away from the Marriott Center so far this season.
Yeah, it's really true, and it's going to be fun to be home. It'll literally be exactly 1 month. The last home game we had was on the 21st of December. So there's that. It's oddly there's that little anticipation of how's it going to feel to be back in the Marriott Center. But certainly we'll take that. We're excited to be here. I know the guys are excited to be home, and we got huge games coming. So, two really big games this week.
One quick last note about Portland. Normally league games is all about familiarity, but a starting 5 for the Pilots are guys you didn't see last year.
Yeah, it's really true. They're put together of Division I and junior college transfers. The team's really been put together that way. They got some talented scorers. led by Ali Ahmed, who is averaging 20 points a game at the point. He's a diminutive point guard with a huge heart and a whole lot of like chip on his shoulder, and a really capable scorer and a great leader for that team. And kind of down the line, it's a bunch of guys that have come from somewhere else, and Coach has done a nice job putting those guys together.
Ahmed spends a lot of time at the line. Let's get to Pepperdine now. Back-to-back games against the Waves. This will be the home and home, first in Provo and then in Malibu. This is a rescheduled game. It was supposed to be played on New Year's Eve and got bumped to this point. Of course, it's a Kobe Ross team, but he's not the leading scorer right now. It's Kessler Edwards.
Yeah, and like we've talked about before, Kessler Edwards is a pro and Kobe Ross is a pro, and they got a couple other kids on this team that might end up being pros. They're really long. They're really skilled. They can really, really shoot the ball 1 through 5. They've had a couple disappointing performances that they would say they're incredibly disappointed with. This is a team that we have every expectation is going to be knocking on the door to be the top 2 or 3 teams in this league this year. And it's going to be, they're always a massive challenge for us. And this is probably the best team, the most talented team they've had in the last decade. Not just talented, but also veteran. So they're an incredibly capable team, and we're going to have everything we can handle facing them on Saturday and then again on Wednesday.
They were a fits and starts team a little bit due to COVID, but the cliche, better than their record, I think kind of fits this kind of team. I wouldn't be surprised to see them get on a run here and get near double-digit wins in the league.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind they're a top 100 team. It's not even close. Right? They just had a couple weird nights, but they're really, really dangerous. They're really talented. They have great leadership on their team. Obviously, Lorenzo Romar is one of the most decorated coaches in the Western United States. And so, again, two hugely challenging games. And then I'm excited about the Saturday, Wednesday. In my athletic career, one of the most interesting and fascinating and pressure-filled things I've ever done is compete in NBA playoffs series. We were doing 5-game series and then 7-game series, and just those back-to-back games where you make all the adjustments. There's no other competitor, there's no other team in between, and so it's just it becomes a kind of life of its own. And so this Saturday, Wednesday is going to be really fun for us.
And it's what a lot of the leagues are already doing by design that you get to do by happenstance this time. Programming note, we talk about rescheduled games. The game at San Diego, which was supposed to come after the game at Pepperdine back in early January, has been rescheduled for February 2nd, and that will move our coaches show that week to February 1st, a Monday. So we'll do a Monday before a Tuesday game, the week of the San Diego game, just to FYI. All right, after the break, we'll get to know a little better Jesse Wade in tonight's Cougar Q&A. And later, we'll chat live with assistant coach Cody Fueger. This is BYU Basketball with Mark Pope.
BYU Basketball with Mark Pope is brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen, helping Utah families for over 30 years. America First Credit Union, we're here to help. The BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. Zions Bank, we haven't forgotten who keeps us in business. And by Qualtrics.
Checking in on our Cougars in the Pros Overseas Edition, brought to you by the Deseret News. Elijah Bryant scored a 14 from Maccabi Tel Aviv in a win in Israel Thursday. Jimmer Fredette, 25-6 in Shanghai. Eric Mika got the double figures in scoring for Partizan in Serbia on the weekend. And Eric Mika's a guy, I wonder, do you when you've gone to Europe, when you've been over there, are you making kind of a mental break with the league in a way, or are you still saying, I can get back, or does it really vary guy to guy?
I think it depends on the guys, but I think, and this is a long time ago. This is like 20, 30 years ago when I was playing. But in the 2 seasons I spent overseas, I felt like I was just removed from everything. So I had this overwhelming anxiousness to get back into the league. But I think Eric's a lot better player than me, and I think all of our guys overseas are carving out really good niches for themselves. Interesting, before St. Mary's, we realized the hurdle we were facing. So I reached out to Eric Mika, Matt Carlino, Anson Winder, Skylar Halford, Tyler Hawes, through text, and asked each of them, hey, several of those guys were on the team the last time we actually won down there. And so each of them kind of text me a little anecdote or some key phrases that we shared with the team. So to give you a sense of like how much this organization functions together, we really value those guys, and our guys look up to them, and so it's fun to have them around.
Was there a unifying theme?
Toughness. Every single one of the guys. Matt Carlino was like, Coach, all you guys talked about for the entire week was toughness, 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 and so that was kind of the overwhelming theme, and it wasn't something new, but it was just nice for our guys to hear that from former guys that had been there and done it.
And then show that identity all weekend. Fantastic. All right, time now for Cougar Q&A, where we do a word association with the Cougs. We give them a teammate's name, and they give us the first things that come to mind. It's presented by Zions Bank. We haven't forgotten who keeps us in business. And tonight, we hear what the Cougs have to say about Jesse Wade.
Jesse Wade, or also known as Kaysville's finest.
He's kind of a little bit the, kind of like the locker room clown. He likes going around here before and after practice making jokes.
Me and him crack jokes all the time. Like, he'll make me start cry laughing. Like, he's that funny.
Jesse's one of the guys on the team that anyone can talk to about anything at any time. He's like an open book.
I call him my get out of jail free card. No matter what's happening, if something goes down in the offense, he can immediately get a shot up and it goes in almost every time.
Dude is a walking bucket. He literally makes every single shot he takes. It's really frustrating to watch.
He's going to knock down every shot you give, both contested threes and uncontested threes. He's going to make every shot.
This dude is one of the purest shooters I've ever seen.
He hits shots that I'm just like, all right, like that's a lucky shot. And then the next time he's down the court, he hits it again. I'm just like, all right, maybe he's got a little something to his game.
He does not care what anyone says. Like, he is confident in himself, and he will do anything for this team.
He's been through a lot, but the way that he's responded has been extremely inspirational.
You know, he's just a guy that's really resilient, you know, through the years, through all his injuries. I think really this year he's looking to really bounce back and have a major impact on this team.
He's always smiling, always laughing, always happy and positive too. So he's another great dude that we have on this team.
Everything there rings really true. How's he coming along, by the way?
He's doing great. He was away from the team for a couple weeks, and he's been back now for several days, and he's kind of getting his legs back and working really hard. And it was fun to listen to all those guys talk about him making shots, because all I can hear is me screaming at those guys about being there on the catch and catch twos. And I think that's what they're all feeling when Jesse makes shots. So he certainly works so hard, and we all have high hopes for him.
All right, social media time for Coach Pope. Let's go to Twitter and get our first question from the fan base. How hard is it to balance playing time when this team is legitimately 10 players deep?
I think it can be challenging, but it's like the challenge we love so much, right, to figure it out. And, it all begins with these guys' willingness to work together and sacrifice for each other. And they know that if they all put in everything they have, something really special can come out of it. And then it changes. It changes with the moment in the game. It changes with matchups. It changes with the flow of the offense. It changes with defensive schemes that we're seeing. It changes with the challenges we're facing guarding. And so it sure is an incredible luxury to have this cadre of different pieces that we can try and put together and do something special with. So it's a great challenge, but man, it's a gift. I hope we have this problem every single year for the rest of forever.
Question 2 is about Gideon George. What has earned Gideon George more minutes the last few games, and what can he do to earn even more? I love his fearless playing style.
Yeah, Gideon has made huge strides defensively. His off-the-ball defense is just making more and more and more sense. And so he's done a great job. In fact, just today we stopped practice twice to talk about some combination rotations that he had made, where he was kind of anticipating the next rotation, and it was done perfectly within our scheme. And so he's certainly gaining my trust on the defensive end, and his makeup ability has always been there, as you saw in the San Francisco game. I mean, I don't know who else can make that block in college basketball, but that was a huge moment in the game, right? And then for him, we hadn't spent a lot of time on it in scout, but for us to be able to just move him to guard Tommy Kuhse the last 8 minutes of the game at St. Mary's, just because of his length and makeup ability, you combine that with his growing kind of comfort and heightening IQ, and he's certainly earning more minutes.
I mean, you were trying to keep that thing a game at USF. He makes a nice 3 before halftime, too, so it's in his game. All right, last question here from social media. What's the best basketball advice your wife, Leanne, has given you?
Oh, that's a great question, but man, I don't know. Let me think. The best basketball advice probably is what she echoes all the time as advice we've got from people that we really look up to. There's 2 pieces. The extraneous one is you have to coach who you are, meaning you can't try and coach like someone else. And that gets us in trouble because just we are who we are coaching, right? And we're all in with the way we coach. The more important thing that she reminds me all the time when things get really complicated and things start to get distorted, she's just like, Mark, this is about these young men. And this game can get so overwhelming, and sometimes the pressure gets so huge, and all the stuff around it gets so huge, and the frustration with all the different facets. And whenever that happens, she's the first one to grab me and she said, Mark, this is about these young men. She loves these boys so much, and she keeps us focused on that. And I think it's a big reason why the program's successful.
Great answer. Thank you. Good questions too, fans. Appreciate it. Break time on the latest BYU Sports Nation right now. Kiki Solano takes the show to the Bay Area to celebrate the Cougars' sweep. Watch it on the BYU Sports Nation social media platforms. Coming up next, Deep Blue introducing us to freshman Caleb Lohner, and assistant coach Cody Fueger will join us live. This is BYU Basketball with Mark Pope. Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Mark Pope, presented by Siegfried & Jensen. Well, in his first season as a Cougar, Caleb Lohner has already made a name for himself on the floor as the team's leading rebounder, and off it as an outgoing, fun-loving adventure seeker, as we learn in tonight's edition of Deep Blue, brought to you by America First Credit Union.
This Christmas morning for you guys, I kid you not.
Super active, independent, stubborn kid.
Caleb Lohner is this 6'8.5", 235-pound specimen.
I think anything where he feels like he can get a little bit of a thrill, he's game for it. And he'll just kind of migrate to it.
I don't know who he is. Body of a Greek god that looks like it was just chiseled, right? He's like a surfer dude, but he's like the hardest worker and most diligent guy I've had in the gym. He's like this incredibly honest, self-introspective young man that is like the quickest dude to laugh and joke and smile. He's like the swaggiest dude ever.
I would describe my sense of fashion as very spontaneous. I think fashion kind of helps separate you in certain situations, and I think being a basketball player, it's cool to kind of have your own swag. So that's been fun.
He'll get up in the morning, he'll train, and he'll train as much as anyone. He probably does, and he'll work as hard as anybody. But then he'll also go have a great time.
I saw a video of him recently where his buddy was driving a dirt bike, and so he laid his body down behind the jump, and he had to jump over. I'm like, what are we doing?
Coming from Texas, I was going to a public school, really big public school, and there just started to become this question of whether I really liked playing basketball. And I think it was this mental battle that kind of came across throughout all these different other trials and things that were going on in my life. And I just started to lose focus of what was really important to me.
And I don't know if it was just all the pressure that was getting to him, plus just he was so committed for so long and doing it so often, right? I think it wore on him. I think he got tired.
And the more I kind of figured out what that was, the more I realized that I needed to change. So I decided to go to Wasatch Academy to kind of start fresh, start new. And after being at Wasatch, I just kind of had this new spark, this being around new guys, playing at a higher level of basketball. We were a really good team. It kind of brought back some of that like emotion of the love of the game that I have. And so the more I played, the more we went through that year, it was back. Like it just kind of clicked. I don't know when and where, but one day I woke up and like all of my love was back. And I knew, hey, this is something I want to do.
Sometimes when you hear of somebody that's like, I don't know, how much do I love basketball? How much do I want to play basketball? Do you wonder if they're really committed? And he's the exact opposite. Like, he stays on this floor with Coach Burgess for at least a half an hour after every single practice. During the whole summer, you know, I had to roll, but sometimes in the office really late, I got to roll back at 11 or midnight to grab something or do something or because something's driving me crazy. And there's Caleb Lohner in the gym by himself, getting up shots.
Lohner on the steal, out ahead of everybody. Oh, baby!
My goodness, that's what we've been waiting for.
My goal here is to challenge myself academically, on the basketball court, and then really just to work as hard as I can and help this BYU basketball team win games. Coach Pope says this all the time. He says what you give in to the team will come back like full fold.
Sometimes when you get a heralded freshman, they think that they know everything or they think that they're better than everyone, where Caleb's freshman mind is, Coach, give it to me straight. Tell me how I can just be on the floor. What do I need to do?
So I think understanding that basketball is more than a game, I think to everyone that means something different. But for me, I think basketball has just taught me so much that nothing else could have taught me. And I've already noticed all the things that my life has been blessed with through the game of basketball. So why not keep going and trying to get to the next level?
So we're at the very start with him. When his Cougar career ends, how do you think we're going to look back on the Caleb Lohner years?
I think it'll be something that we'll never forget. I really do. I think he's built of the right stuff, and he's sure is a joy to coach, and he's already doing things that astonish all of us.
We will give you more of Deep Blues at BYUtv.org/deepblue, or you can search for it on the BYU TV app. Well, the last time BYU played in the NCAA tournament, Mark Pope was on the BYU bench as an assistant coach. Also part of that Cougar staff in 2014-15, that tournament team, was our next guest, who was then the director of basketball operations. It would be his last season in that role. He started his full-time coaching career the next year with Coach Pope at UVU. He is, of course, assistant coach Cody Fueger, and Coach Fueger joins us live tonight from the BYU Basketball Annex. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
What's up, Rubes? Thanks for having me on.
Great to have you on. Saturday was a pretty good day. BYU completed the road sweep of the Bay Area teams, and your Green Bay Packers advanced to the NFC title game.
Yeah, it was a great day. It was awesome. 3 huge wins at St. Mary's, at home at Lambeau, big win against the Rams, and then Saturday night at San Fran. Gotta feel, this is a little bit different for me. I actually feel a little bit taller than Coach Pope right now. That's pretty sweet.
I'll tell you what, you know, Cody, like this deal with the Packers is real. Was the Packers played Saturday, Cody?
This last Saturday, yeah.
So I don't know if most of us, like, we got to enjoy the St. Mary's win, and then we there was a stress reliever, but we still had to focus in on San Francisco, and Cody just like went straight from St. Mary's to full-on stress about the Packers and full-on stress. I mean, the stress he's been through over the last 3 days.
Coach, I had to get the goal line package all set for Saturday, and then I had to, you know, make sure we're running the right stuff offensively against San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he could truly relax. He may not have known that, but like the Packers game wrapped up right as I think the USF game tipped off, and so like he was able to chill until he right back into it. Coach Fueger, coaching influences, how would you describe them for you?
Oof, I got so many, you know. My dad coached me when I was younger, so he influenced me to be really patient with players. You know, he was patient with me. And then Coach Majerus, he was straight to the point, so I think I learned that from him. I like to go straight to the point with things. Coach Rose was really good at giving guys confidence, and I think I do that at a pretty even keel. And then Coach Pope, intensity and kind of putting it all together, and I think trying to model that.
Coach Pope, how do you describe your division of labor on your staff, and where does Cody fit in?
Well, Coach Robinson has a lot of responsibility, and Coach Burgess has a lot of responsibility, and Cody's responsible for everything. so Cody Cody and I have been together for a long time now. We've been together for 7 years, 8 years, something like that, Cody, give or take.
8 years, yep, 8 years.
And Cody's such a gift to me. Like, you think about Cody knows me better than anybody else on the staff because we've been together longer. Cody actually, it's interesting. I don't know if I can say this right, Cody, but sometimes we'll be sitting in a staff room and I've lost my mind about something and I'm just yelling and upset and trying to get something focused. And Cody's actually really good at managing me because he knows me well enough. And I can actually see it happening in real time, and sometimes it just makes me madder, but I appreciate the fact that he's just like, all right, just let him say what he has to say, and once he gets it out, we'll move on and actually be productive. But it's delightful. But Cody's got so much responsibility on his staff, from developing unbelievable relationship with these players to kind of taking care of every part of X's and O's, to developing practice, to recruiting. And he's capable of doing it all, and he is, He's such a gift to our staff and our program, and he's going to be an unbelievable head coach really, really soon.
Cody, there's coaching family, and then there's family. Take us inside your house for a minute and tell us who you've got.
Yeah, so my wife, she's an elementary school teacher at Rock Canyon. She runs my household. And then I've got a 10-year-old daughter, Isabella. She was born in Louisiana when I was working at Louisiana Tech. She is really, she loves dance and everything that I, didn't grow up knowing much about, but she loves dance and everything about that. And she's really competitive. So if the Packers lose or BYU loses, she's the first to be yelling at me for some reason. And then my son, Andrew, he's 5 years old. He's just anything sports or wrestling or football. I mean, he loves to tackle and punch, and he loves all that type of stuff. And he actually was started with us he was born right when I took the job at Utah Valley, so kind of that whole time. And then my 1-year-old daughter, who was born last October, Anna, she is a handful, and I've never spent so much time with a baby. Especially just during this off season, right? I was home, and usually I'm out recruiting and this and that. So I learned a lot about babies this past off season, and a lot of sleepless nights, which I'm used to. But she's been nothing but awesome, and yeah, I have an unbelievable family that loves BYU basketball, and it's awesome.
Well, coaches are used to sleepless nights. We're glad to learn more about you every time you're on the show. We'll do it again soon, Cody. Thanks. Have a great night. All right, that is Cody Fueger. As we go to break, here's this week's trivia question presented by the BYU Store. Against which WCC team did Tyler Haws break BYU's career scoring record some 6 years ago? Back after this. Trivia time. Against which WCC team did Tyler Haws break BYU's career scoring record? It happened in February of 2015 against Portland, up in Portland. And it was a great night. It was a road game, but it felt like a home game. The BYU fans were so into it. Tyler Haws became the Cougars' all-time scoring leader that night. BYU plays Portland this Thursday. All right, time for the little segment of the show we call What Happened? Because we look at things that we are just not quite sure exactly, well, what happened. So here we go. This is they're calling it beanie season. In Canada, we call it toque season.
Skull caps.
It's called toques.
Toques?
Called toques.
Fair enough.
Yeah, toque season. It's called toque season. All right. This is Colby Lee. I think he thought the ref was a teammate. Either way, it's all good. Kept in bounds.
He's trying to share the rebounds. Share them. I love it, Cole. Team first.
Good reestablished there by Matt Harm. You're a popular teammate when everybody comes to help you up, right? they all love AB. Get him up. Gideon George. This is the too small signal. You'll occasionally see this.
So we're watching this on the plane. And Gideon George's like, yeah, I did the Zach Sellius, if you remember from Gonzaga last year. So we had him send that right to Zach. It was awesome.
Randy McCall thinks the play's going the other way, so he goes the other way, but then there's a steal, and so we're just kind of waiting for Randy to kind of get back in business, and ultimately he's going to show up but he was fully focused on getting to the other end of the floor, wasn't he? There he is. There he is. Welcome back, Randy. Good stuff. And sometimes, Coach, the exasperation is just too much, right? You just don't know sometimes. Yeah.
I'm so grateful for these referees.
And our closing shot this week is going to be Mark Pope from Sports Nation. Oh, no. What is this? This could be a real thing. Is that legit? Is that legit?
That's legit.
It is legit.
That's legit.
All right, and this is the way to end yesterday's Sports Nation and this show. That's it. Have a great week. For the coach, I'm Greg. Go Cougs.